This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team. The final score: Wrexham 1, Dagenham and Redbridge 0, and Wrexham absolutely delighted. Bryan Hughes in his first match as Wrexham manager coming away with 3 points, a result which certainly played in no small part down to his second half substitutions. The introduction of the scorer Stuart Beavon and Paul Rutherford certainly were important factors in this victory. It was a really odd game, I've got to say. A game where all the way through you think this is a very boring match. There's so few chances, and yet by the end of it you reflect back and realise that Wrexham could have scored 5 were it not for the superb goalkeeping with Elliot Juster in Dagenham's goal and the less than superb finishing, I'm afraid, of Akil Wright, who somehow walked off the pitch without a goal to his credit despite the second half chances that went his way. Anyway, 4 changes by Bryan Hughes, a couple forced on him. Summerfield injured. Wrexham missed his set pieces, I thought, especially in the first half, as he got a succession of free kicks and corners and didn't really manage to trouble Dagenham too much with them. And also missing was Rakeil Pike, of course, withdrawn, recalled by Huddersfield from his loan. Wrexham also made changes up front with Rutherford and Bever dropping to the bench, and a completely new front three from Bryan Hughes, including tellingly a first start for Ben Tollett, something which a lot of people, myself included, have been very keen to see. And Tollett, well, I think delivered a great part of what we might have hoped for. The first half, there wasn't a great deal to see, in all honesty. Wrexham had much more of the ball, weren't terribly troubled. The one time they had any danger was potentially self-inflicted, nearly 20 minutes in, and Rob Lainton, with the ball at his feet, tried to hit a clearance, mishit it, and drilled it dangerously close to Reynolds, who was standing 10 yards in front of him. Fortunately for Wrexham, it didn't make contact with the striker and skipped out for a throw-in. Apart from that, though, it was Wrexham trying to press, but they were struggling really to find space in the Dagenham half. Dagenham's back three operated well. There was lots of endeavour up front. Stockton was battling with the central defenders and holding the ball up pretty well. Won a few fleck-on headers as well. On the right-hand side, Grant was trying his best, trying to cut in onto his left. And Tollett was sporadically dangerous, running at players and with a good weight of touch. Luke Young trying to get up to support them as well. But there weren't many clear-cut chances. A short free kick was nicely worked. Jennings sweeping in across. Pearson climbing with a powerful header from 15 yards out. But he put it beyond the keeper, but beyond the left post as well. Then nice Stockton hold-up play allowed Wrexham to push forwards. It was a neatly picked up piece of work by Tollett, who carried it forwards. A well-weighted pass to Wright in a crowded penalty area. His foot touch was too heavy. Tollett latched onto it though and pulled a nasty ball back across the face. No one could get a touch. The flag actually went up against Tollett as well. It wouldn't have counted, but it was a promising moment. Although I haven't said that, can't you see how desperate I am to find incident in the first half, talking about stuff across where the crosser was offside. Then Wright bursting forwards through the centre, set up the most exciting moment of the half, 3 minutes before it ended. A scramble on the edge of the area, ending with Tollett squaring the ball nicely to Grant, who drilled a terrifically powerful shot from 15 yards, the first of a string of excellent saves by Justin, perhaps his best, managing to get a hand up and tip the rocket onto the bar. It dropped back down into the goal mouth. There was another scramble, and Tollett hit a shot which looked destined to go in, but flicked a defender and went wide for a corner. And Wrexham continued to push on, their best spell of the half coming at its conclusion. A nice looping far post corner. Walker 6 yards out, failing to get on top of it and heading it well over. And in added time, Tollett again looking promising. A beautifully weighted little pass into the box for Grant. Had a chance to go one-on-one with the keeper perhaps, but his touch was heavy and the opportunity was gone. The second half saw Wrexham again looking to probe early on without making too many chances. Young did well to pick the ball up on the edge of the area after a nice move, beat his man and drill a powerful shot across goal, which was well blocked. It was certainly on target and would have troubled the keeper. And then Grant with a 25-yard snapshot, again an excellent contact from him, but it whistled wide of the right post. Dagenham, to be fair, would show a bit more threat in the second half, would just start to get behind the back of Wrexham's defence a bit. In fact, I'd say if their final ball was a bit better, they might even have punished Wrexham. One of their better opportunities came after some lovely skill on the right-hand side by Reynolds. He fed it inside, and Robinson had the glorious opportunity 15 yards out central with a clear sight of goal. He should have shot, but for some reason he squared it on to the left wing-back Gordon, charging up on the overlap. He did arrive in space down the left channel, but he was not in as good a position as Robinson. He struck a good shot, which was deflected wide for a corner. Then it was down the other end. Wrexham, by this point, had made that key double substitution. Stockton and Grant coming off, and in their place, Rutherford and Pearson coming on. And there was a better coherence of the front three. Rutherford has shown when Tollett's been come on previously that he's got a good understanding with him. He sees Tollett's movement into space, which is one of Tollett's strengths, and also he has good movement, which Tollett can pick out with his passes. And of course, Beavon, we know, has good movements, and Tollett was enjoying having some of these interesting options to feed the ball to. And Wrexham started to look a little bit more dangerous. Tollett with a nice weighted first-time pass to the left, Jennings ripping in a first-time cross, and Rutherford attacking it unmarked 6 yards out. Just couldn't quite get there, just half a stride short of getting there for a tap-in. Dagenham would have a couple more threatening moments before the game would turn decisively in Wrexham's favour. A corner half cleared to Loft 15 yards out. He drove the ball well from a fairly wide angle on the right hand side, and it was well held low down to his left by Lainton, who then launched the first of two excellent clearances straight to Beavon, who in turn nearly teed up an opportunity himself. Then a good break again by Dagenham ended with Gordon again arriving in the left channel and driving a shot which was too straight, but Lainton spilled it and had to grab it at the second attempt. But Wrexham by now was starting to push on. 18 minutes left, and Wrexham had the start of a spell of real domination, which won the game and really should have perhaps put it to bed. 2 minutes before the goal, well, nearly the goal of the season, Tollis again involved, working the ball back to Beavon, and when his layoff found Jennings 25 yards out, he hit an absolute rocket, a terrific strike. It was soaring inside the left post, but Eastham was able to lunge across full stretch and push the ball behind for a corner. But eventually Eastham would be beaten, although even when he was beaten, he came out of it with some credit. Tollis again feeding the ball out to Jennings. He ripped in a tremendous cross at the 6-yard box, and Luke Young, lunging in, did terrifically at full stretch to not only reach the volley but control it and get enough power to trouble Eastham. Eastham, moving to his left, suddenly found the ball whistling to his right and made another brilliant save, lunging and pushing the ball back into the goal mouth. He could do no more, but unluckily for him, it sat up nicely for Beavon, who set himself and then lashed the ball gleefully into the net to give Wrexham the lead. His first goal since he scored at Weston-super-Mare, and whisper it, for the first time there were tentative chants of Bryan Hughes' red and white army. The atmosphere was quite peculiar. It was a really impressive crowd, 5,366, bolstered naturally by the excellent grassroots youth football day, a great initiative that. But despite that, despite the fact that the kids have been making a lot of noise, it was quite quiet, and there's a palpable air of tension which was released by that goal, and also by what happened, where suddenly, having previously struggled to create chances, Wrexham suddenly found themselves creating loads of them, all within about 5 minutes of that goal. Then it was a nice breakaway which picked out Rutherford. He ripped in across to the far post. Keelwright arriving with a tightish angle, made a decent contact on it, but it was well held by the goalkeeper, Justum. Then a far post corner, Pearson climbing and heading the ball downwards. It was cleared off the line by Gordon. A minute later, after another corner which Pearson had headed against the defender, it looped just wide. Another corner swept in. Pearson nodded it down, and the Keelwright, arriving at 6 yards out, looked certain to score, but slashed it over the bar. And it wasn't the easiest chance he would miss in this match either, I'm afraid. Still, the opportunities continued. Beavon picking the ball up from Lainton again, a good direct ball to him. Held the ball up until Rutherford arrived on the overlap, fed him in, first time cross, found Young 6 yards out, he drove it in, terrific save again by Justum. It dropped loose, and Wright attacking it, this time to be fair, is back a little bit towards goal, could only hook the ball over the bar. It was the 90th minute. Wright had this really unpleasant moment. Tollis doing well once more, feeding a lovely little ball back to Beavon. His shot was parried. It fell back for Wright, invitingly, the keeper on the floor. It looked the simplest of finishes, 10 yards out, and Wright just tried to roll it into the bottom left corner and missed the bottom left corner, rolled it wide, a really horrible miss, which could have been punished in the last minute of the 3 added, when a corner was half cleared and Nunn made really good contact with a 25-yarder, but it was over the bar, and Leighton had it covered, I think, if it had been about a yard lower down. A big win for Wrexham, a big win for Bryan Hughes as well, who, coming into the job, a surprise development this week, has managed to start off with a victory. And results elsewhere went Wrexham's way, and the league table looks rather handsome. There's been a lot of complaining this week. I understand concern about how things are going for Wrexham, but I tell you what, look at that league table now and ask yourself, is this really a disaster that some people seem to think the season had become? Wrexham have a couple of testing away games to come, but this was a promising start for Bryan Hughes, and now he's got a week to get the team together and work with them properly. So, was this the start of something that can kickstart Wrexham's challenge for the title once more? Well, to further analysis of the game, here's Callan FM's post-match analysis of myself, Andy Parkinson, and James Harrison. This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.
Leighton will take this kick. He's wasting valuable seconds. Wrexham launch it, and you can hear that response. Wrexham, Bryan Hughes gets the dream start, I suppose, perhaps a consistent one with the season with just the 1-0. Wrexham will take it. Results elsewhere as it stands. Hopefully we'll give you a bit more of an update in our final assessment. Wrexham have had a good day at the office. Final score here, Wrexham 1, Dagenham Redbridge 0.
Very scrappy game. I think Wrexham were lucky to scrape a win, and I think they used that just into the second half, and it was a scrapey game, but Bevan's finish was really, really good, and that's what we were looking for. I think Wrexham will wonder whatever happens next in the season, they'll be happy that they've won this game, and a really good start to Bryan Hughes' career at Wrexham.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jared Phelan telling us that Salford conceded a late goal against Braintree. So things going rather nicely, but a big result. Bryan Hughes, his first match as manager, and he pulls off a victory. And although it wasn't pretty or scruffy, and it was a bit scruffy, I don't think there's any doubt Wrexham deserved this. In fact, looking back, if it wasn't for Justin's heroics, we could have scored quite a few.
There were a number of really good saves, and if hopefully there is video analysis, when he looks at his chances, it's not quite good enough, I think, right?
You don't need video analysis to tell you how the Keelwright should have scored today, I tell you. His 100th career appearance of his career today, and he had some great opportunities in the second half, didn't he? But it's promising, James, isn't it, really? Despite the nature of the game, where it wasn't pretty, at the end of it you look back and realise we actually made quite a lot of good chances to score.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look back at the chances, Wrexham could have easily been 2 or 3 up. Whether they deserved it, I think, yeah, they probably did deserve. They certainly deserved the win. Whether they deserved to that scoreline, debatable. But it wasn't a vintage performance. It wasn't a classic performance. It wasn't one you'll go back. Oh, I remember there. We played really well. But what we did create was a lot of chances, and we made a keeper work. And no, I haven't been able to say that really for a long time. I know Salford we had a lot of goals in on Boxing Day, but to force a keeper into making saves and being frustrated that we're not a few more goals up is at least a positive we can take from it. That's a pattern of play. If that's it, we're going to be more attacking. It just needs a little bit of fine tuning, and that's a compliment. Let's grind out results as well. And other teams are still struggling around us. No one's making a massive fist of this. They're not claiming it. Why can't we? That's 2 wins in a bounce. Let's go and make it 4 wins in a bounce in February and see where we are.
Yeah, exactly. A couple of tableaus walking down the tunnel then. Keelwright looked really upset with himself, though he hadn't scored. He was getting a lot of consolatory arms around his shoulders, and the last man off the pitch was Ben Tollett, who looked very happy and bouncy, high-fiving just about everybody that he could find. And I'm certainly, Hughes managers are brought in, they've got to make good decisions. He's given Tollett the start, and I think he's vindicated, doesn't he, Andy?
Oh, very much so. And I think more so, Phil, after Wrexham scored, he made 2 or 3 runs that really just carried the ball that could have led to goals, but more importantly, he took the ball away from the Wrexham danger area and took it forward. And I think over the last couple of years, Wrexham have given away goals in a 1-0, and he's made a big difference by just using up time and putting some pressure on them, making decisions. I think that's where he's been really successful. And before the goal, he was really an outlet for Wrexham. He was creating opportunities as well. So, yeah, for me, there's only... I know the sponsors ban and the match is going to be Steve Bennett, but with Bevan, I can see why he scored a really good goal, and he did link up very nicely with Rutherford. but for me it has to be Tollett.
No, fair enough. Tollett, the man of the match, and I agree. You made a very good point in the commentary that obviously we picked Tollett to try and give us a bit of edge and creativity, but the fact of the matter is that he was a really valuable defensive tool when we were in the lead, because he was picking the ball deep in his own half, driving forwards, taking the play away from Dagenham, and even though those breakaways didn't lead to goals, sometimes that wasn't his fault. It was other players not making the most of his passes, but it was a very, very valuable thing that he was doing. Beg your pardon. Can I just give you my fab stat? 4 of Wrexham's last 5 goals at the Racecourse were scored by substitutes. So there's something cunning going on there. Of course, today Luke Young's goal in the last match as well, and Holroyd and Tollett scored the last 2 against Salford. Only Rutherford's goal against Solihull out the last 5 scored by an outfield player. So I guess that tells us we come on strong late on, Andy, do we, I suppose?
Maybe it's a fitness thing, I suppose, but also the Wrexham's bench is quite strong as well.
Yeah,
bringing on people like Rutherford and Beavon, and sometimes over the last few years I looked at Wrexham's bench and I thought, well, okay, I see why those players are there, but they're not the first team. But Rutherford and Beavon have been our first team players and showed it by their link-up play. It's just that we've got Grant and Tollett have really come in, and Stockton, they look like good signings. Well, obviously Grant's been here for a while now.
Yeah, the front three looked quite lively, had their moments, didn't quite click for them, but in the end Wrexham were able to benefit. And another clean sheet as well, James. There were occasions when you felt that if Dagenham had a better final ball, they might have benefited from some of the positions they created.
Yeah, I think our back four looked a little shaky at times today. I think they're a solid unit as back four. They didn't have perhaps the coverage or protection that they've had in previous games. Maybe that's the sort of the compromise you have to do if you're going to play some more attacking football. And I think the balance will arrive at that. But yeah, they're still solid there. I think a couple of misplaced passes, a couple of missliced clearances at times. I think both fullbacks had a better game than the centre halves today, which is usually the centre halves are very dependable. But I think both fullbacks, offensively and defensively, did really well.
Yeah, absolutely. A clean sheet and a win, and not much more that Bryan Hughes could ask for, really, in his managerial debut for Wrexham. 1-0 victory against Dagenham Redbridge. Real relief after a stressful week for Wrexham. This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.